Hello, this is the LEGO Dreams The Never Witches Midnight Raven set. This comes with 1,203 pieces, which I built live, and it cost me $100 US. This has 5 minifigures, and we will look at these more closely later on. But first, for a focus on the main thing that you're paying for here, which is, well, not just this giant raven itself, but the giant raven plus this thing. And these two are intended to be together if you look on the front of the box. See, here's the house thing here. The Dream sets always let you choose between at least 2 major build options, and instead of going with the main build, I went with the alternate because, after all, this entire review is because of you. I asked when this was first announced, along with a whole other wave of sets, what y'all would want me to review from this wave, and the majority of you responded with this, and specifically making mention of the alternate build, so here we are. Now, whichever build option you go with, you do start with the large raven, and for the sake of scale, let me just bring in one of the minifigures and just have them stand back here. Yeah, this thing is nice and massive. You could even say it's 1-to-1 scale with some, I guess, smaller ravens. You know, the wingspan maybe not quite as much, but you know, the head size and the body size and everything, this actually looks really good. I think the head design is nice. When you open up the mouth, that makes sense. A tiny little bit of hook at the end of the beak. I forget the name of that feature that they have, but that's right. The kind of brick-built feathers combined with some of the claw-based ones back here gives you a really nice texture that feels right to me. The size of the front of the torso right here actually looks pretty good. Underneath, well, I don't like seeing the light gray there, but it's not terrible. You know, at least it's not a completely different color. But from many angles, this looks pretty good. This version does not give you any legs, unfortunately, for the bird itself, but you do have this hollowed out space that works kind of like a trunk or a boot for the bird. So a little bit of treasure is in there with the gem. That's a doubloon, so it's like a gold coin with a print on it. Got an egg back here, and you have a spot where you can place something. It can be either a figure or something else that will fit onto the 2x2 jumper right there with the single stud on top. And then the forward section is also hollow, and that's just used for capturing somebody. So somebody can be held in there, you know, it can be held captive. It's easy just to open that up and close it down, and it's just a pretty flat space on the inside. They didn't give you a mechanism for dropping anything out from underneath there because the function, or excuse me, the build around here is mostly focused on strength for the wings, so the wings can actually flap up and down. These right here, as you can see at the wing tips, are done in iridescent, so you got the transparent dark pink color there. They can be moved around, so you can kind of feather them out. Just not a whole lot, just a slight bit, just to change things a little bit. And then each of these can also be rotated slightly. These up here can be rotated also. Honestly, I didn't find those to be enjoyable to line up all the time, and you can easily kind of squish them together into an orientation that doesn't look so great. The tail can also be flapped up and down. Unfortunately, it cannot be twisted, you know, just a slightly different kind of style here. Again, these can be turned around just a bit, but for the most part, just having them feathered out like that, I think is the best look. And then you end up with just a whole bunch of empty space on the top where you can just place other things, you know, people and creatures and things that you've captured and such. And that's pretty much it for the main build here. Unfortunately, I've not had free time to keep up with the Dreams show itself, but you can clearly see what this here is all about. You know, in universe, forget about it's for just a second what it comes from in real life, but in universe, you can see that it has a stone walkway here, so this can integrate into the ground, and then, you know, it just kind of looks like a funky, kind of creepy hut, but then it will sprout legs and start walking, and it's also able to mount itself onto the raven, as you see in the main build there. But in real life, this is inspired by old folk tales, I guess you would say, of the witch or witches called Baba Yaga or Baba Yaga. Different people pronounce it different ways, but you can just look it up. B-A-B-A, second word, Y-A-G-A. It's interesting stuff with questionable history, not a whole lot of understanding of that, exactly how it came about or why, but definitely a lot of history behind it. And that's exactly what this is doing and trying to be. And it's very successful at it. I'm surprised that you put so many pieces in terms of the build experience. You put so many pieces into the hut itself. And then right at the end, there's just just like a tiny handful of pieces to make the entire legs, and yet the legs are plenty strong to hold this thing up. You can change the angles of the toes just a little bit, change the angles of the chicken legs around just a little bit as well, but it's perfectly stable. That really surprised me. I like how the chimney has different angles to it, and the door is a proper minifig door that opens up there. You get visibility through it just a little bit so you can see what's in there. You can mount things to the back here, and you can get easy access to the interior. Very easy access, in fact, by just opening up the entire roof. So this has storage spaces up in the attic on either side for magical things, and there's a crystal inside there as well. You can also store other things in here, which we'll be looking at in just a minute. I'm keeping it a little bit vague, partially just to not spoil things, and partially because there are some things that I don't know all the specific details about. But ultimately, this is intended to be effectively a witch's hut on legs, and I think they've done a really good job with it. Now this thing is weird. It's a cauldron spider, they call it, and that's because the main body of it is made from a cauldron, and in the main build that is just set up as a cauldron, you can see some of the magical fire coming out of it, and this is intended to be kind of the crystalline eyes. Got little pinchers here, or actually these mandibles, or both pincers together. Legs, 8 of them, so it's a proper spider. You can move those around, but this is not very useful. The joint for each one just isn't good enough because this just weighs too much. It's always going to end up just falling down to the ground. So you can't really have this on its legs. You can kind of do like this, play with it, but then ultimately it's going to find its way back down like this pretty quickly. The abdomen section is able to move up and down, made of webs. You can imagine those being magical, but this can also be detached and just kind of left behind separately. Don't think of it in a macabre way. So this is more like almost like a harvester or harvestman in a way. But inside of here, you can see some things that can be stored potentially in the hut or used in other ways. These are domes, doom domes. They're used to capture things. They're magical devices that can capture all kinds of stuff, including very, very large physical items and entire islands and buildings. And there's one right there. So that is a printed piece. And here's another one, which is also its own print. And you're going to see a third one with one of the other uses of this. You know, honestly, this to me is not a great success as a build. It's just a little bit too finicky. I wish that the legs were longer, but it is a thing. And if you kind of get into it and, you know, use your imagination a bit, it definitely is a useful extra toy. Here's the Never Witch herself, and you can see she has one of those domes on her staff. So those can be swapped out with her, the other ones from the set that you saw that were captured by the spider. And she also has this magical, you know, just kind of force cloud, magic cloud that she's just floating upon. So that's just kind of her magical essence that she, you know, will move around on and disappear into and such. And it just kind of adds to a mythical and mystical feel. But you know, she does have full legs there, and you can see kind of the top of the legs. So this is a regular minifigure after all. There's the printed tile inside of this dome. And there's the Never Witch figure itself without the floating cloud magic thing, along with a couple other figures. These are Dizzy and Dogan. Apologies if I pronounced either of those incorrectly. I think all of these are very strong looking figures. Notice the cloth waist piece here. Why do we get that over here in Dreams and not in some licensed themes? I don't know, but hey, I don't mind getting the piece. I think it proves that Lego can make those things whenever they want. I really like the dual molded pieces here with the headgear piece here with the coral color for the hair, and then you get the alternate color of the trans dark pink there. And also the pauldron pieces are dual molded between black and trans dark pink, and those are just swapped. So one of them is facing forward, the other one is facing backward. You can swap those around as you want. Thankfully, you do get alternate faces for all of these. A little bit of gem reference there from Gem and the Holograms. But yeah, all really strong figures. A little bit down in total number of colors and all, but you know, that's just their scheme. And I think that the graphic design work here is good, and the physical design is good too. This Mateo figure is kind of ridiculous. All the stuff that comes with also has the small version, the single stud version of Z-Blob as a Baraki eyepiece, but this whole blaster back here, I mean, this is crazy. and the jacket piece. It's got dual molded legs with printing on the sides of the legs as well. It's actually lined up pretty well towards the front, printing down there for the boots. I mean, this is a lot. They've done a lot. The dual molded piece right there in the center, the trans bright green color for the Palpatine Force Lightning. I mean, it's paint application on the hairpiece as well. This is almost too much, almost too much. Before we go back to the close-up, I wanted to show you Astrid with her rocket chair here. These are the iridescent pieces, so you can see a little bit of extra shine in there with the metallic style flakes, and you got the gold color for the chair. And here's a closer look at those figures. So once again, very good, although Mateo, being the main hero of the entire story, does get more stuff, and I think that's fair enough, and kind of aligns best with what people are going to want. No alternate face doesn't make any sense to though with this one. Okay, you get an alternate face here, but none here. Just a plain single-sided head. That's too bad. There's a look at the flannel underneath Mateo's big foofy jacket, and this lets you see the print on the front of that torso a little bit better. I won't stop saying that LEGO should do their prints for torsos more consistently and more opaque. They have shown many times that they're able to do it, but too frequently they end up with, this white that's supposed to be bright white, but it's just like a pale blue because it's just so thin. Last but not least, you get one of these small kind of minifig appropriate scaled ravens. I guess it's a little bit on the large side for a figure, but pretty close. And hopefully they will be making many of these with different color options for us, because this is beautiful, but some more realistic ones would be nice. Some more fanciful ones would be nice too. Possibly even something with a print at some point. This just has a single anti-stud on the underside to connect it to things so it can perch. This is a representation of the actual leftover pieces from the set, just the normal way, forgetting about the two-in-one thing that they do. I'll show you more about that in just a second, but you get a couple prints in there with the doubloon and the little Baraki eyepiece with the eyes on it for Z-Blob, and the stickers. It's just these, not a lot. Meanwhile, these are the parts I had left over from doing the alternate build. So very, very little gets left on the table. I might have confused one of these little 1x1s there, but most of this is accurate. Between that and this is all of the pieces. But yeah, when you convert, if you start off by building the main thing and then you convert to the alternate build, this is all that's left over. And that's great. I hate when conversions leave so much behind that you could have done something with, but this is nice. Speaking of conversions, though, it's obvious to see why there would not be a whole lot of pieces left over, because this is basically the entire hut with a slightly different build to it, but you can clearly see that it's the same overall size and shape. And then there's the cauldron. You can see the little things that are used to represent the eyes, and then around here you've got the flame. The parts that are used to represent it's the spider forms, legs, and everything. It's all just right there. So it's not a total transformation. And that makes perfect sense to me, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Not every single one of these needs to have the same type of transformation or the same type of differences between the two major versions. I'm not going to go back and build the main version because you already see it here. And again, most of viewers were just interested in seeing the one that I've covered. Again, I paid $100 US for this. It's 100 euros, 90 pounds UK, or $130 Canadian for just over 1,200 pieces, 5 minifigures here. I think that just by today's standards, that's an okay price for the total amount of stuff, but the Dreams theme, the entire theme, is not a hot seller. And each of the sets that comes out is kind of season specific. So after a season passes, you can definitely expect discounts across the range, the entire range. So if you're not in a super rush, I would recommend waiting and getting this at a cheaper price, because that would be great. You would feel a lot better. Why not wait and get it cheaper if you can, knowing that this is not going to hold its value on the retail market for a long time. But overall, the stuff that's here, I think, is good. The size and shape and everything of the Raven is nice. I wish that it had something more to it. I can understand, again, for the amount of stuff and the price and everything, but I wish that you could fold the wings back into more of a perched form. I forgot to show you that you can turn these this way, but then you can't do a whole lot with it. You can do that, but you're not going to perch this. You have no articulation for the neck. You have no legs for it to stand on. I think it would have been a lot more of a value if you could have used this more as a Raven, had it standing up. I just think that would have served all audiences better, including folks who aren't even interested in Dreams, just want a cool looking Raven. You can swap out some of the parts potentially. But if you are interested in buying this either now or later, please do consider helping to support me as a non-sponsored reviewer, as it becomes harder and harder for me to afford these sets to buy every single season, because all Lego is gobbling up content creators and sending out sponsored sets to so many people so early in the process, long before this stuff is available to purchase. But if you use an affiliate link from my video description, that helps me out a ton if there's one that's available in your region. But no pressure whatsoever. That's just an if. That's all. Just an if. No additional costs to you. Overall, not a bad set. If nothing else, tons of inspiration in it. Lots of really interesting pieces. Good recolors and things, and I hope that I have at least shown you enough in this video to have provided some good value to you and either given you inspiration or helped you to come to a conclusion on whether or not you are interested in actually buying it in the end. But thank you very much for now. I will take off and talk to you again soon.